Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Arbuckle. Welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to share with you guys 6 essential Fortnite tips that everyone should know. If you're fairly new to the game, you're struggling and you want to get better, I highly recommend watching throughout the entire video. Hopefully this will be able to help a lot of you guys out. So the first tip that I have for you is when moving from one location to another, whether it be in a populated town or an empty field, make sure to have cover planned. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it, including how many kills I've gotten because of it, where people just aimlessly run around the map and they run towards a circle without having a backup plan if someone starts shooting them in the back. And for those of you that played Fortnite a lot, you know that getting shot in the back is part of the game and it happens all the time. So it's very important that you have a plan and an idea of what you should do if you're in a situation where someone's able to flank you or start shooting you from a direction that's unexpected. Let's say, for example, you're running out in the middle of a field. If you're running out in an empty field where there's no trees, there's no rocks, there's literally nothing to hide behind except grass, you absolutely have to have building materials. You can risk it, but if someone starts shooting at you, you're in a really trashy situation where you basically just have to run and jump and hope that the other guy's bad enough to just keep missing. If you're running out in a field and there are trees, there are rocks, maybe there's a wooded area, it's smart to run that direction. It might take you a little bit longer to get to the circle, but if the storm's not moving and you're not putting yourself in a position to lose a lot of health because of the storm, I highly recommend using the trees, using the rocks, going that direction, taking the long route so you don't put yourself in a situation where if you start getting shot in the back, you're screwed. Now, again, like I was saying, if you're going through a field and there's nothing around, if you have plenty of building materials, you're set. You can run. It was something that I highly recommend doing that for some reason I don't see a lot of people doing is jumping, constantly jumping, running and jumping. You don't know how many times people are watching you. Think about this. When you play the game, think about how many people that you watch throughout the game, right? Like you're even with a squad, you're like, okay, we got a squad over here. Let's try to sneak up on them. Let's try to flank them. Let's try to do this to them. Oh, there's a guy over here. Let's see how I'm going to approach that. That many times it happens to you, or that you do that to other people, that happens to you. People are always watching you. You just don't know it. You do it to other people all the time. That happens to you. So it's very important that you have building materials. You know which route you're going to take. You know what you're going to do if someone starts shooting at you from whichever direction. So again, guys, long story short, I know I kind of rambled on with that one. Have an idea, have cover, have a plan if someone starts shooting at you in the back or from honestly any direction. Tip number 2, don't assume that the edge of the storm is a safe zone. There are always, and I can't stress it enough, always players that are straggling behind in the storm. And then I've got in parentheses, don't get trapped on the edge of the storm, which is something I'll get into in a second. So again, guys, like I said, I'm sure a lot of you guys that have played the game, if you're new, staying on the edge of the storm, just because the storm is there doesn't mean that there's not enemies. And this is something that has annoyed me over the months of playing this game all the time. There are always people in the storm, and lots of times there's people way back in the storm. You think that just because the storm stopped for like a minute, there's a lot of people that stay in the storm and that are way behind. So don't just think that because you're on the edge of the storm, you're going to be safe. Always watch your back and keep a lookout. And to be honest with you, if you guys keep watching the edge of the storm, especially when it stops, there's a really good chance you're going to get yourself some easy kills because like I said, don't get trapped on the edge of the storm. So many people will run in, and as soon as they make it in, they'll start building or they'll start healing, which is so easy to get kills from because people will run in and maybe you're shooting at them while they're running in from the storm, but then they're trapped there. So they can't back up. If you keep pushing them, there's nowhere to go. So again, guys, don't get trapped on the edge of the storm, but don't think that because you're in the circle, you're in the safe zone. Always keep an eye out on the edge of the storm. You'll be able to get some easy kills, and you won't have to worry about getting shot in the back. The third tip that I have for you guys is to choose carefully where and when to drop out of the bus. It's important to be the first one on the ground. I like to use Pleasant Park as a huge example when it comes to talking about this because I love going to Pleasant Park, and generally whichever direction the bus goes, it generally goes over the lake most of the time, unless it's coming from like the northwest part of the map. You always want to jump early. But the thing with Pleasant Park is if I'm coming from any other direction, I always jump and dive towards the lake so that I can get as low as possible and then fly into Pleasant. What I'm trying to say is don't hover over mountains when you're coming down unless you're planning on landing on one. Especially when going to a place like Tilted Towers where it's so crucial to be on the ground first. Try to land, jump out of the bus a little bit early. Don't jump out directly over top like so many people do nowadays. Jump out a little bit early and dive over flat land. Don't dive over mountains, because what happens is you end up pulling your chute early, and then you have to wait, and other people are already on the ground. I can't tell you how many times I've seen comments and heard people say, you know, how are these people landing so quickly, or how are they so far ahead of me? You have to jump out before you get to the location and make sure to fly over flat land. Don't pull your chute early. It sucks. It happens all the time to me on accident. I never do it on purpose, but it sucks. And like I said, guys, it's so important to be the first one on the ground. It can help you so much, especially when going to populated places like Pleasant Park or retail, which is where I tend to go all the time. You get in those houses quickly, you get the guns, and then you got people stuck with nothing and just looking at you with a pickaxe. So choose carefully when and where to drop out of the bus, and it'll help you out a lot in the game. The fourth tip that I have for you guys is, if you see a player or hear gunshots, carefully determine if you should attack, and if so, what your best approach is. So many people get trigger happy when they see people or hear gunshots, including myself and a lot of my friends. Jay, I'm talking to you, where all we do is we go right after people that are shooting, or we see someone, we instantly think, all right, we got to go right after them. But you have to be smart about it. A lot of times what happens is there's another team nearby that's doing the exact same thing you are, that's listening and moving in that direction. And a lot of times what happens is, if you sneak up on them and you just go all in, you kill them, you go to loot, and then you die because there's another team. So carefully plan your approach and figure out how you're going to win this gunfight. You don't want to come up, so many times, something that's happened to me a lot, there'll be someone like straggling behind, and really he'll have an entire team. I just don't know they're all there. I think maybe they're all dead and this kid's by himself, but he's just straggling way behind, and he'll be running, and I'll catch up to him, and I'll just start shooting at him from a distance, because it's one guy. I mean, I can kill him, it's just one dude, and then all of a sudden his entire team comes out of nowhere, and then I'm stuck in a 4-on-1 situation because my teammates are further behind and I didn't want to wait for him to catch up. So this happens to me so many times. So always watch the person that you're about to attack and see what they're doing. So make sure they don't have teammates nearby. Make sure they're not just straggling behind. And again, like I'm saying, like, don't shoot from so far away. So many people just want, and this is how I win so many gunfights, and I don't know how. Like, there's so many times where I feel like I should die, but because people are so trigger happy and don't want to wait until they get close enough to kill me, they'll start shooting from like so far behind and give me plenty of time to turn around and build and start shooting back. That's the one thing you don't want to do. You want to get as close as you possibly can before starting to shoot, because if they're far away and you miss your first 2 or 3 shots, that person's going to panically start building, and then you're just going to be at a disadvantage. Now they're ready, or maybe now it's an even gunfight, whereas you had the advantage and now you don't because you shot too early. So again, strategically plan exactly how you're going to attack the people that you're watching, and don't be afraid to talk to your teammates. So many people don't want to talk to their teammates, especially when playing with randoms. Use your teammates. It'll help you a lot. The fifth tip that I have for you guys is very simple, and that's that headphones are crucial for being good at this game. I don't think headphones are necessarily crucial for really any other game. I've always used headphones, especially that I've played Call of Duty for so long. In Call of Duty, it was nice to have headphones, especially in a game mode like Search and Destroy, where sound whoring was the way to go. But in this game, Fortnite has brought the word sound whoring to a completely another level, something that I never would have thought that it would be at. Like, it's insane how important it is to have headphones in this game. Sound is everything. Sound is everything, and I found it very difficult to actually play without sound. Because you're not able to hear if someone's running up behind you, or you're not able to hear gunshots. You don't know which direction to go if people are shooting or where they're at. So if you don't have headphones and you have money, I highly suggest investing into some headphones. I don't want to say it's an investment, because unless you're making money off the game, it's not really an investment. But I promise you that it's going to make you so much better. And a lot of people will kind of counter that and say, well, I have my TV, I can turn my TV up. If you've never had a headset and you only use the TV, you're missing out completely. It's a completely different experience. You're able to hear 360. You know where everyone's at, where everything is happening, and it'll make you a much better player. And it does that for a lot of games, but Fortnite is extremely important to have a headset. My last tip that I have for you guys is to land at and explore areas that you're not familiar with. This will help you feel more comfortable with the map and help you when final circles bring you in the direction. So this is something that I was kind of talking about earlier. I wish, well, in my last video where I talked about creative mode, exploring these areas, if you watch my last video where I talked about creative mode, I talked about how there's so many areas on the map that I'm not completely familiar with. I've played thousands of games of Fortnite, and I'm sure there are still chests on the map that I haven't opened, because there's some areas that I'm just not a huge fan of. There's some areas that I don't know that well because I don't go there that often. And then what happens is, if I play a game, maybe I land somewhere that I'm really comfortable with, but the final circle ends up in like shifty shafts, and I'm not a fan of shifty shafts, so I don't land there. I've only been there a few times, and that's when the final circle's there, so I don't run around and try to learn. Like, I don't have time to do that. I'm trying to win the game by the time I get there. So it's important to take time to force yourself to land at these locations that you're not familiar with or that you don't like, so that you can actually learn the area, learn where the chests are, learn where the lines of sights and the choke points are, so that if you get to the end of a game and it's one-on-one, or maybe there's like 5 or 6 people left and you're stuck in an area you don't know that well, if you're actually taking time to land at these areas and learn them, you won't be in a crappy situation to where, oh crap, the final circle's here and I don't know this area at all. So take the time, explore the map, try to learn areas that you're not familiar with, and I promise you it'll make you a much better player. But anyway, guys, that's it for the video. I hope you guys did enjoy these 6 tips. Hopefully they'll help you out. If you guys have anything else to add, make sure to leave it down in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see all you guys in the next video.